There's a lot of information that is hard to listen to with a straight face. When I watched it, you see a side of some places that are supposed to be about helping the people take advantage of that belief and twist it into their own political agenda and brainwash and control the masses. From prisoners burning themselves as a form of protesting to ending up in wards that permit electric shocking therapy to the point that Victor, the MC of the whole documentary, cuts his wrist to get the injections out of his system that he thought was vitamin B, but it wasn't. Victor went through a lot of hardships throughout this documentary, being stuck between a war between two territories. He fought for change, in the words, even when his life was on the line, and that's what makes this story so incredible and really compelling. I think there was a lot of good shots in the subjects during interviews and actual footage and pictures from the protests and past in general. I really got a good feeling of what it's like being in that time for those people. The big takeaway is that we have voices and our own power to make change and to take a stand and not be afraid of those powers that try to act above us.
The piece really worked well because they had so many of the people that were really there at the time still giving narration and interviews about what went on, and I thought it gave it a very human and a very sort of introspective feel, while also reflecting how high stakes it was. What he went through, Victor, if I'm correct, was very similar to what you see with a lot of people trying to resist a level of oppression and violence and what could be considered a sense of psychological torture. And yet they go through and still having the ability to organize and understand that there was a culture and a people and a country that he was fighting for that was bigger than himself. So I thought the piece really had a sense of scale, even though it's built around people talking. I thought in a documentary setting, obviously, I thought it really felt like a story that translated to lots of other narratives about fighting against oppressive forces and dissidents in general.
There's a play that was written, that was inspired by him. We see the artist who's drawing these beautiful sketches that we get to see throughout. And also this documentary, we get to see him in all of these different mediums. I really enjoyed that we got to hear some of his poetry, which was lovely. And just, yeah, there was just so much to think on and chew on in this piece. It's really, really fascinating, the choices that he made in his life and um, how radical he was, and right up until the end. And he recently passed, but I'm so glad that this was able to be made and is a really lovely testament and tribute to his life, and I hope serves as a really inspiring piece for other people and activists in the world.
This is a good way to connect the past to the present. We are introduced to the story through the point of view of Victor's granddaughter as she is developing these illustrations that represent moments in history, but also directly to her family lineage. We then eventually meet Victor Fainberg, who has been a part of just a Soviet-led invasion in Czechoslovakia called the Red Square. And this was such an event that had such a grand impact on not only their family, but a whole generation. We find that Victor has gone through a lineage of suffrage and was for a period of time going through punitive psychiatry. And it's so revelating and gut-wrenching to hear these stories of being in these predicaments, of being told that you're going mad into this descent, so to speak. We see that he does good and fights for his community and essentially deprogramming the brainwashing that occurs, that we get to see him kind of explain in the film of how they sort of coerced him into thinking that he needed to be there and that he was quote unquote crazy. And during this time, we are being shown these graphic drawings, these time lapses of these different experiences of this visual medium coming into play from his granddaughter.
You have this opening, which is very visually compelling with the sketches of the protesters. And we see early on that we're going to see, you know, this man through the eyes of this artist, along with this first person narration and the narration of his family and his community. And I liked how we used this protest happening in the present to tie in to the Red Square demonstration that he's known for. After Victor's arrest, he, you know, brutally assaulted by the police to a point where he could not physically stand trial, was examined and sent to a psychiatric hospital for over 4 years with no evidence of a mental illness. And for this documentary to serve sort of as a memoriam, because he's passed so recently, but we add the aspect of his point of view directly, being now that he's no longer with us, as opposed to this being told by someone else, it just makes it so much stronger.
It's just so amazing, the content of the story. And then it was amazing how the story was told. It was told in like 5 different ways, with 5 different elements, if not more, coming together, meaning the music, the play, the film of it, the film footage, and the paintings. The paintings I thought were amazing, and just so everything came together so well, and the placement and in the words that were put up too on the screen, the opening, you know, being informed and clearly introduced properly to who these people were and what we were watching. I just thought it was so well done. The production value was great. The sound, the music, the camera, just everything worked and were characters in themselves to just bring us this story of this, you know, all these amazing people. I just thought it was such great integration with all those different elements. That's really, other than the theme, it's really what stood out to me. And I loved ending in the marriage. Oh my gosh, just such a marriage of people who've been together for 40 years. I don't know why they chose that moment to get married, but it was just beautiful and such a great way to really end this documentary.